Hello and welcome to Unscripted Realty.
So gents, ready to see what the topic of the day is?
Home buyer spends a lot of money on buying the house, right? So you have a tendency to overstep your budget.
Your lifetime savings you are trying to put in, you have to be very certain about the outcome.
तो जब इतने घर हैं, that just adds to the misery of the home buyer. He's confused.
To my friends, I say, please download Index tab.
ऐसा मत करो. नहीं, I know we have the data.
And you have the data.
80 to 85% of the buildings in Bombay do not have an OC.
वहाँ देख के बोलो ना थोड़ा.
Okay.
All my buildings have an OC.
I'm not about your building, Aditya.
Hello viewers and welcome back to this show Unscripted Realty. For those who are seeing it for the first time, it's called Unscripted क्योंकि हमको भी नहीं पता है हमको किस टॉपिक पे बात करनी है. We're going to see it very soon and we're going to talk about that. The only thing we know is that it's always for the home buyer. And as always, we have got some wonderful guests, rather friends. Let me begin with an introduction. To my left is Sudarshan, who मैं भी क्या बोलूं? Today he's a banker.
Yeah.
Today you're the banker.
Yeah.
He's a friend. He's a partner. He was a client earlier. So welcome.
Pleasure.
To my right is Mr. Lawyer, Apurva. We met a few months back. But we've met multiple times after that.
Yes.
So I'm looking forward to आप क्या बोलने वाले हो? Because I think home buyers need your services a lot. And I always say this, कि जिंदगी में जब एक ही बार घर खरीदना है, maximum 2 बार, to do it right? So look forward to what you have to say. Further on, to my right is Aditya Mirchandani from Mirchandani Group. Delightful guy. I think he does the best yoga in the world because इतना शांत आदमी है वो, and he's going to give you so much insight as Mr. Developer. Actually, you are a developer.
We are a developer.
So
I call myself a home buyer though, but
so good.
the world knows me as a developer.
You're double hatting. You're giving us a perspective on the
Home buyer,
home.
home seller.
Home seller, sorry.
Great. So it's going to be a lot of fun because when friends are talking, it's going to be fun. So gents, ready to see what the topic of the day is? Chalo.
Do it.
Oh. Wow. Very long.
Very long? What is it? Laundry list of check boxes that a home buyer needs to have before buying the magical dream home. Sir, हम लोग चलें फिर? आप ही अकेले बात कर लो.
मैं क्या बात कर रहा है? पैसा वहाँ पर है, बिल्डर यहाँ पर, मुझे तो लॉन्डो के पास वैसे कोई नहीं आता है.
Chalo, let's deep dive into this. We can obviously spend a few seconds thinking because this topic has just come to you. By the way, you can also hold in your hand if you want.
Okay.
It's okay.
We keep it here.
So acha, you know what? Since the topic is about what is it the home buyer needs to check, and it can be a pretty long laundry list, but I want to begin with, because even I've been looking for a house for a while, and जब बहुत ज़्यादा data होता है ना, बहुत information होता है ना, तो वो घर भी नहीं खरीद पाते हैं. तो even I'm looking forward to getting some insights from this podcast, frankly speaking. But सब बॉम्बे के लोग हो, right? बॉम्बे में कुछ 50 मॉल हैं, शायद
उससे कम है.
Even better. कितने ऑफिसेज होंगे? 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 50,000 ऑफिसेज.
ऑफिस से ज्यादा ही होंगे.
1 लाख. घर कितने हैं? मिलियंस.
Yes.
तो जब इतने घर हैं, that just adds to the misery of the home buyer, right? Because he has so many options. He's confused. What should he buy? What should he not buy? What should he look at? What he should not look at? And then it's not only him, no? It's him, the his, the her, the father, the mother, the bhaiya, the neighbor, the friend,
The
kids, right? So there are a lot of people influencing this big family decision, and that just adds to the complexity of this decision. So we definitely want to try today to make it easier and at least leave this podcast with this check boxes, which is important. Yeah?
Look forward.
So who wants to start first? मैं करूं?
Maybe the lawyer. Yeah.
तो ऐसी क्या चीज है, if you want to start first, which you think is the most paramount, उसके बिना तो बात ही मत करना है. And by the way, so sorry. And I'm just helping you. We'll split this into 3 halves. We'll try to speak, it just came to me right now. We'll try to keep it something for resale, which I think is very critical, right?
Very critical.
क्योंकि I'm buying it from him. let's say I'm buying his house.
Non-builder. Let's say from non-builder.
Non-builder. Second, we are buying it from Aditya, right? Which is
That's a builder.
primary. And third, the latest thing in Bombay and even in Pune, even in Bangalore, redevelopment.
Redevelopment of societies.
Right? Wherein, या तो मैंने बोला मेरे घर के लोग हैं ना, redevelopment में तो 50 सोसाइटी मेंबर्स हैं, वो तो कितना और रायता फैलाएंगे वो पता नहीं. So I think we can talk about these three. It will be useful.
Correct.
Right? So again, my question to you: what is that one thing? अगर आप खुद home buyer हो, तो उसके बिना तो मतलब it's non-negotiable instrument.
Okay. Two, three things I would look at. खासकर एक है title of the property.
Okay.
As a lawyer, that's the पहले चीज मैं देखता हूँ टाइटल क्लियर है कि नहीं क्लियर है. लोग बोलते हैं कि सोसाइटी सर्टिफिकेट में मेरे नाम है तो टाइटल क्लियर है. Wrong. That's a myth. You have to be registered with the registration office कि वो title property आपके नाम पर है. And title also then transfer father to son, son to whoever, will, probate was हुआ है कि नहीं हुआ. If this issues come down from second or third generation, title is for me the most critical important thing. Secondly is आप घर कहाँ पर ले रहे हैं? How close to your workplace and how close to your kids' school if any. कि नहीं तो बॉम्बे में आप ट्रैवलिंग करते जाओगे, आप घर पर कभी टाइम स्पेंड नहीं करोगे. थर्ड जो इशू मुझे लगता है व्हिच आई थिंक अभिषेक और यू कैन आंसर इज वेदर आपको एमिनिटी चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए. एंड लोग बोलते हैं कि मुझे स्विमिंग पूल चाहिए, गेटेड कम्युनिटी चाहिए, जिम चाहिए, ये चाहिए, वो चाहिए. मेरा ये कहना है कि आप साल में वो सब चीज कितने बार यूज करने वाले और कौन मेंटेन करेगा आपके लिए. कि आधे समय में देखो स्विमिंग पूल तो बंद पड़ी रहते या स्विमिंग पूल में पानी नहीं रहते. जब स्विमिंग पूल ही आपके नहीं बचे आप क्या यूज करोगे? आपके बच्चे दिन भर स्कूल में रहेंगे, आप दिन भर ऑफिस में रहेंगे, आप रात के 12 बजे स्विमिंग पूल यूज करने जाओगे. उसके कर आपका मेंटेन बिल ज्यादा पड़ेगा. तो ये सब आप लोग को देखना चाहिए. एंड आई मीन विथ हिम एज अ बिल्डर आदित्य, यू शुड बी एबल टू आंसर दैट क्वेश्चन बेटर कि एज अ बिल्डर आपको एमिनिटी ज्यादा देकर पैसा कमाना है या मेंटेनेंस कम रखना है. That's a perspective which people don't look at. आज मैं भी जो घर पे रहा हूँ, I'm staying in a building which has no amenities.
Yeah, but you opened your list with the title check.
Correct.
Right? But there could be many more things that they need to check, no? Like for example, वो title के अलावा और क्या होगा?
Okay,
कि do they need to check कि IOD आया कि नहीं, CC आया कि नहीं, RERA है कि नहीं? Is this also there?
Right. In a secondary sale, RERA is not important.
Correct.
Because that's only for primary sale. IOD, CC, for me, IOD, CC is not important. For me, in a secondary sale, OC is important. Occupation certificate आया है कि नहीं आया? अगर नहीं आया है, then I will not advise person buy it. Example, Camper Cola compound in Prabha Devi Valley area.
Yeah, the popular.
Everybody knows that story, and I don't want to repeat it. I had 3 people who had come to me जो बोले कि मुझे कैंपर कोला में सेकेंडरी सेल में फ्लैट खरीदना है. मैंने तीनों को एडवाइस किया मत लो, प्योरली ऑन द बेसिस कि ओसी नहीं आ रहा है. देयर कैन बी एनी मोमेंट व्हेन द सुप्रीम कोर्ट और द रेलेवेंट हाई कोर्ट विल टेल यू टू डिमोलिश द अनऑथराइज्ड कंस्ट्रक्शन. 2 जन ने मान लिया, 1 जन ने नहीं माना. अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट about 3-4 years before court had passed an order to evacuate everybody and bring down the buildings. तब सबको रोना धोना पड़ा है. nobody knew what to do. ठीक है, उस पर स्टे हो गया, कुछ हो गया, but decision is still pending in the courts.
But what about conveyance and PR card is all precursor, prerequisite to OC?
No. Okay, let me just explain this. OC is something given by the municipal corporation. OC का मतलब is the building is fit to be occupied to stay.
Okay.
That's it. It doesn't say कि title clear है कि नहीं है.
तो OC हो गया, title हो गया, दो तो.
OC मतलब the building's fit to stay. It doesn't mean clear title.
Okay.
After OC and after the building has been handed over by the builder is supposed to convey the land and building, not the flat.
Okay.
Convey the land and building to the society.
Done.
वो होता तो PR कार्ड पर ऑटोमेटिकली नाम चढ़ जाती है सोसाइटी का. ठीक है. That whether it's happened or not happened is a secondary issue now because of concept of deemed conveyance.
Okay.
अगर deemed, we can get the deemed conveyance irrespective of builder. So for me, that concept of conveyance from a builder हुआ कि नहीं हुआ is not मेरे it's not a very important thing now.
Okay.
Because अगर सोसाइटी चाहती है इट्स अ प्रोसेस विच टेक 4 से 6 महीने लगता है, उसमें हम लोग टीम कन्विंस हो जाएगी. सो दैट विल परफेक्ट द थिंग. खर्चा लगेगा, आई एम नॉट से नो, बट देयर इज अ रूट टू परफेक्ट दैट टाइटल. माय ओनली प्रॉब्लम इज ओसी एंड whether your flat when you bought it has been adequately stamped and registered.
Sure.
So Abhishek, I'll just add to that.
Yes.
As a home buyer, it is very difficult to see this as a DIY checklist, right? Because it is very difficult to check OC aaya nahi aaya. Is it authentic or no? Is the deemed conveyance possible? Is the conveyance done? Extremely complicated, right? To simplify it, number one, if you're looking at a resale, tick box number 1 is please select a legal advisor who will do this due diligence for you, right? Because it is so complicated. The more and more you will dig in, the more layers of the onion that you will peel, the more things that will come up. And as a common man, you do not have the skill set or the knowledge to be able to understand so many words.
So, Mr. Banker.
Absolutely. I think we कितना भी due diligence बैंक ने भी अगर किया है तो still it will be preferred that you get it vetted legally even before you approach a bank, because bank can do all kind of due diligence, but at the end of the day the risk is still on the buyer.
No, but there are so many people whom I know who simply say कि दो चीज, again I'm splitting it into two now, not the third one, redevelopment बाद में आते हैं. मैं रीसेल खरीद रहा हूँ, मैं होम लोन नहीं लेता हूँ. डर्टी वर्क आप करो, क्योंकि आप ही पैसा दे रहे हो ना. ऑफ कोर्स इट्स माय मनी, बट यू आर आल्सो पुटिंग इन योर, देयर इज अ रिस्क एलिमेंट टू यू, सो दैट्स वन थिंग. एंड अगर अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन है, तो अगर एपीएफ है तो आग बंद करके ले लो. तो आप बोल रहे हो कि नहीं करना चाहिए ऐसा?
नहीं, बिल्कुल करना चाहिए. बैंक्स तो एक लेवल पे ड्यू डिलिजेंस करती ही है अपना, बट एट द एंड ऑफ द डे दैट इज नॉट सैक्रोसैंक्ट और इट कैन नॉट बी कंसिडर्ड एज अ स्टैम्प दैट अगर बैंक ने कर दिया तो इसका मतलब है एवरीथिंग इज ऑल हंकी डोरी. यू स्टिल हैव टू डू योर एलिमेंट ऑफ ड्यू डिलिजेंस. आई थिंक अभी जो ready to move in है, the new houses, उसमें at least एक element of RERA है, so RERA does its level of compliance, but it is still advisable that you, if you can hire or afford a proper lawyer who could do that level of diligence. I think that market in India is very nascent, and that is that at least we should explore how a proper legal advice is being considered.
अच्छा, then
let me just add to this. अभी कहना इजी है कि approach a lawyer, and I'm a lawyer.
Yes.
Some of the challenges which we face when somebody comes to us for advice. सर, मैं ब्रोकर को 1% या 2% ब्रोकरेज दे रहा हूँ, मैं बैंक लोन ले रहा हूँ, वहां पर इतना इंटरेस्ट जा रहा है, आप मुझे इतना फीस क्यों चार्ज कर रहे हो, या इतना खर्चा क्यों लग रहा है? मैं सिंपल, आप पूरी अपनी लाइफ सेविंग्स फ्लैट के पीछे खरीद रहे हो, ऊपर से आप 2-3 लाख, आप जहाँ 2 करोड़ का मिनिमम फ्लैट खरीदते बॉम्बे में, बिना 2 करोड़ का कोई फ्लैट आपको ढंग का मिलेगा नहीं.
Yes.
Even if you go for low cost, 1 करोड़ तो मिनिमम लगेगा ही. अब 3 लाख खर्च करके अप्रोच अ प्रॉपर, आई एम नॉट सेइंग अप्रोच मी, देयर इनफ लॉयर्स इन द मार्केट विल चार्ज अ रीजनेबल रेंट टू द वर्क फॉर यू, बट एक अच्छे लॉयर के पास जाकर गेट योर टाइटल चेक एंड डोंट वरी द कॉस्ट, क्योंकि कल को अगर उस फ्लैट में प्रॉब्लम आई, whether the bank has done its diligence or not done its diligence and they give you the loan, पैसा आपको वापस करनी है. वो माल डिफेक्टिव हो चाहे नहीं हो, आपने बैंक से 1 करोड़ रुपया लिया, वो 1 करोड़ प्लस ब्याज आपको बैंक को वापस करना है. बैंक आपको गिफ्ट नहीं दे रही है.
नहीं तो this question I typically like to do it in the Miss Universe style, where you cannot hear the question and you have to say it solo. वो तो possible नहीं है यहाँ पे. But Aditya, I want to begin with you.
Sure.
How many apartments do you think an home buyer visits or analyzes before buying that one dream home? A typical home buyer.
So typical home buyer, I think today you have a lot of online platforms.
Yeah.
So there's that first round of Reiki that happens at a digital level.
Sure.
Which he's sitting in his house, he's going on all the platforms that exist. I feel at that level he definitely browses through a minimum of 20 to 30 properties.
All right.
From that he's going to shortlist. The first round generally I would say is about 3 to 4 properties. Kuch acha lag gaya to great. But what I have seen is before deciding something, the magic number for me somehow seems to be between 9 to 12.
ठीक है?
Yeah.
And you can convert that to man days. How many hours on man days would this need? And don't forget to add the wife and the father and the neighbor and the friend and the chacha.
So now the mandate has two. One is me personally going to see the house first as that first round of Reiki. then getting someone else who will have their own set of expectations, which might mean that everything I've selected is rejected, right? You've gone through this experience having 7 members in the family decide. Minimum, I think it takes a buyer 3 months, could go upward till a year. I have seen people who've bought in our projects who've been searching for houses for 3 years.
Wow.
That's insane.
Correct.
Right? Not 3 years to close for me, but 3 years from the time they saw their first house.
But then isn't this a superb startup idea then for anybody who's listening कि जब इतना मेहनत करना है, ठीक है करो, मैं I have no problem, please do it, it's your house, do it. But then somebody can do this hand holding and उसमें तो आपका competitive analysis भी हो गया project में क्या, because you have to tick mark, right? इसमें swimming pool है, इसमें नहीं है. गाड़ी में करते हैं ना? बिल्कुल. ये है, ये नहीं है, ये है, ये नहीं है. So a lot of YouTubers are doing this for cars.
Absolutely.
Maybe somebody can do this for homes.
You have all your channel partners that you will work with. They will show you all projects. They will tell you the pros and cons.
But somebody will do the analysis for me.
And they will share the data with you. Of course, it is not gone to a level where it's presented well in a chart format, like the way a CRE matrix would present to a developer. But unofficially it exists. I mean, if I want to do it, and a tip for the viewers, download ChatGPT, upload all the brochures of all the projects and ask them to make a chart for you. It's as simple as that.
Really?
I've done it.
Sachi, it works.
Sachi, it works.
So then that should complement with what he's saying from a legal perspective, the banking perspective, and if somebody can do this, whether it's GPT or whatever, CP or GPT,
whatever it might be,
Chat GPT,
right? That might just be able to be a good tool or create that magic which has been missing.
But the challenge is a home buyer spends a lot of money on buying the house, right? And a lot of times people are buying their dream houses. So you have a tendency to overstep your budget. When you've overstepped it, you try and cut budgets and corners from wherever you can, which is where, Apurva mentioned that people don't want to spend even 1 rupee on the legal DD because bank ne kar liya hai na. Broker ne dekh liya hai na.
Broker ne dekh liya and they'll go by what the broker say rather than what a lawyer say.
What? Maybe.
Yeah.
What?
आज I'll tell you, 2 episode मेरे साथ में है, and we're talking about an IPC and us. IPC बोला टाइटल क्लियर है, XYZ रीजन, शेयर सोसाइटी रजिस्ट्रेशन पर आपका वो कहते कि when we're doing a title check for a client of mine, 40 crore worth of property, client had prospective client, not a client, and I got thrown out of the transaction.
You got thrown out of the transaction because of disagreeing कि तेरे साथ होगा तो मेरी प्रॉपर्टी चली जाएगी.
हाँ, कि टाइटल चेक ले, we normally issue one of the steps we do is issue public notice in 2 or 3 newspapers कि किसी को भी objection है तो आप मुझे आके बता दो. This guy had obviously taken a bank loan to fund the property when he was bought it, and about 3-4 years of EMIs were still pending. Nothing wrong with that. But I said, please give me the name of the financer so that we could just put in a public notice and do a background check and get all the documents out. The seller and the IPs refused to disclose their name. Said, आपको क्यों चाहिए? आप बस लिख दो ना public notice में कि funded by a financial institution.
Wow.
I said, I can't do that कि कल जो भी है, whether it's HDFC, ICICI, जो भी I'm not sure, तो मैं उसका background कैसे check करूँ, कैसे मैं title certify करूँ कि सही है कि नहीं है, कि in case they have remortgaged or done a secondary mortgage, I cannot verify that.
So you as a professional were happy to let the client go versus doing
something which I wasn't comfortable with while certifying a title. Second incident which I talked about, where the building hasn't got the OC, when we had
like the Camper Cola example.
Like the Camper Cola example.
But ऐसा तो dozens of examples in Bombay में.
नहीं, Camper Cola, because the issue was pending in the court.
No, not Camper Cola, but I'm saying OC.
Okay, OC. Let me give you statistics, which most of it were about 80 to 85% of the buildings in Bombay don't have an OC.
There you go. Can you repeat that percentage again?
80 to 85% of the buildings in Bombay do not have an OC.
वहाँ देख के बोलो ना थोड़ा.
Okay.
All my buildings have an OC.
Not about your building, Aditya, but most of the buildings which are doing secondary sales don't have an OC. Okay. So that's a forewarn which I tell the client कि OC नहीं है, आपको लेना तो सोच समझ कर लो. नहीं, सस्ता मिल रहा है तो मैं ले रहा हूँ. सस्ता मिल रहा है तो मैं ले रहा हूँ. Okay. आप 10 लाख सस्ता मिल रहा है, 5 करोड़ के प्रॉपर्टी आप ले रहे हो. अब वही वेजिटेबल खरीदने जाओ 2 रुपए सस्ता मिले तो आप नहीं लोगे.
हाँ नहीं उसमें फिर वो मिर्ची एंड कोथमीर फ्री नहीं वो अलग बात है.
So I think Abhishek, the second checkbox, like we said, the first one is to appoint a lawyer. The second one is no OC, no sale. Don't buy.
Another example I'll give you. There was a Singapore-based client of ours.
Singapore-based.
Not of ours.
Okay,
NRI, who through it was company who wanted to source about 50 to 60 flats for them, for all the employees under one big complex.
They wanted to buy 50 apartments in one complex.
Complex. So they sourced it to a client of mine कि आप ये, and they had a back-to-back deal कि आप खरीद कर रखो and buy the name of a company and we take over the company and back-to-back arrangements are.
Perfect.
So when we sat with, I'm talking about the indemnity was my client, we had to do title verification, get the property, certify everything and do the transaction. They had, based on that Singapore criteria, they identified 2-3 buildings. In one of the buildings, we found out that there was the background of one of the promoters was not very thing, and he had created secondary sales without vesting the agreements. Okay, we had a mechanism to find.
And you were able to find that out?
We were able to find it out using social media and 2-3 other sources and an agency which is an expert to find out, especially when we're buying 50-60 flats in one thing, where ticket size is at least 4 to 5 crores. Look at the volume game.
But I think, this is where the problem is that, see, when you said that banks diligence cannot be 100% be relied, because if some of these things happen after the transaction, it's next to impossible, because until and unless there is an NOC that is being sought at this end and we are able to get it documented, there is no way that I'll be able to figure out such transactions if it is done.
Yeah. So we have specialized agencies, okay, which obviously are not disclosed on camera right now because they're confidential, who are able to find out the background of each promoter and their lifestyle. And based on that, we can figure out where the money source is coming from.
Yeah, but then one second. So we spoke about too many problems.
Okay, so let me just complete.
Sorry, yes.
So then we advise the client not to go ahead with this building for XYZ reason. Client didn't go ahead, and later on, a major scandal of that promoter builder broke out in the media. And the client I didn't see the media report that day. The client, in fact, pointed out to me, "Sir, thank you for saving us and not helping us, go ahead with this one." Then they were very keen because it matched all the criteria which that Singapore client wanted. So we could, to that extent, depend on the size of the transaction and the nature of the transaction. Probably I'll not do this for a single flat, but when it's a large conglomerate, we will do that kind of extra checks.
So you're saying itne check boxes probably 9 on 10 were ticked, but this one, which was so critical, you still halt the transaction and it wasn't a good thing that happened.
A good thing it turned out to be in the hindsight. So things like this happen, and जो आप लोग बोलते हैं बैंक चेक कर लिया, ये कर लिया, वो कर लिया. I mean, let's not take names on the electronic platform. There are lots of builders have scandals where banks have financed them to the limit. Insolvency proceedings हुई है, and they've gone bankrupt also. How does that happen?
So we spoke about difficult things.
So one thing coming out of what he said, and maybe this Sudhanshu can expand on it, is developer credibility and project credibility, right? So like you said, you found out that a particular developer had this issue and you were able to pull off. Second point is you found out that on this particular project he had done resales. So maybe that the developer's not done it on 4, but this project credibility is also equally important.
Yeah, so one size doesn't fit all. And we should be very careful about it. But as I said, we're talking about difficult things. So, chalo theek hai, mana ki challenges hain, and that's where our country is so great. Challenges hain to opportunities hain.
No, but I think the question you asked, that is there a space for a startup to really come in and look at it? So I think the problem is not about curation. The problem that we are all talking about is about the elements where when you are doing this large investment, your lifetime savings you are trying to put in, you have to be very certain about the outcome, and you need to minimize that risk to a lot of extent. I think there will be plenty of guys who can curate it for you, but this curation is becoming more and more important.
नहीं तो फिर आप तो already agree कर रहे हो कि as a banker कि if you have given a loan, whether it is construction finance or whatever APF or whatever it is,
Sure.
that still doesn't guarantee. Eyes closed, I cannot buy that apartment.
No.
I should engage a professional to help.
Absolutely. That will always be, because see, at the end of the day, the entire onus, okay, is on the home buyer. So when the entire onus is on the home buyer, I think these, and in matured markets, these do exist. So I think it's high time that even in Indian markets, you have these concepts coming through.
So then I have I have a very quick example to give, and taking a cue from what you said, कि वो बोलते हैं यार 2% ब्रोकर ले रहा है, बैंकर कुछ ले रहा है, यार कितना कॉस्ट बढ़ाते रहो, वैसे ही मैं बड़ी मुश्किल से घर के पैसे जुगाड़ पा रहा हूँ. So my son is studying in Singapore. He's here right now. He incorporated a new company. Slightly off topic, but it's very important. So I went to my CA and said, आप इनको help कर दो. तो बोला I will charge X. Then I went to some थोड़ा छोटा CA and I said आप तो उसने बोला X minus 15%. Then this young man went to Google or GPT or whatever, I don't care, and found another at 1/3 the price. बोलता पापा, old fashioned. I found a .com, a startup company which is doing it for me for even less than 10,000 rupees.
Wait.
So can that happen, Apurva?
I'll get you lawyers who will do a title search entire transaction for as low as 20,000 rupees.
Okay, I'm already fearing where you're leading me.
I will get you a law firm of my side. Will charge about 3 to 5 lakhs depending on the transaction and thing. You'll have a top-end law firm, the big five. I won't name them because I think most of us know who the big five are. We'll charge the same transaction 30 lakhs.
Oh,
okay. So that's the price range.
Yeah.
Question is, I keep saying this. Go to somebody who you are comfortable dealing with and who will give you the correct advice, irrespective of price. But if you're going to somebody who's like 20,000 or 1/3 the price, like you mentioned, there's a saying, if you feed peanuts, you will get monkeys. Okay, let me give you another example. When I got married about 20 odd years back and I was setting up my own firm, Universal Legal, I was always pitching for the decent sized transaction, not for the volume work with banks and all. So my father-in-law at that time asked me, "Aap sab kam kyun lete hain? Why are you saying no to some work? Why are you saying yes to some work?" I said, question of branding and the kind of work I want to do. So he said, क्या फर्क पड़ता है आपको पैसे मिल रहे ना? I said, आप पाव भाजी आप शिवसागर में भी खा सकते हैं, अब वही पाव भाजी ताज में भी खा सकते हैं. What's the branding you're looking at, and what's the quality of service you're looking at? You want to be the Taj out doing the legal service? You want to be the pav bhaji?
But that's a choice you had.
Wait. The choice is which is giving you better quality for the price of money you're paying. Okay.
पर पे तो दोनों ने भर दिया ना, काम तो हो गया ना?
नहीं, काम कैसे हुआ?
कि डिटेंशन की हुआ?
So Abhishek, I think this will depend on the quantum of the risk, right? So like Sir said that you have 50 apartment deal that he was trying to engage, and he was the kind of expertise he was able to get to find out resale hua nahi hua hai. A online.com lawyer will not be able to do it, right? So to a great extent, it depends on what your need is. If I'm a buyer who's buying a secondary sale, do I need to do all of that? Maybe not, right? If someone can check the various, has a decent track record to have delivered that, has experience, you can go to him. It is not about the amount of money you pay to him. It might be a younger guy who can charge you less. It might be a very senior guy who might charge you less.
So go to a person who knows the job.
Who knows the job. Secondly, it has to be someone you can trust. Right? In India, you want to go to a person who will give you the correct advice and have the authenticity to say no to you and to lose that job. A lot of times, brokers, channel partners, everyone who is trying to sell to you. सर ले लो सब ठीक है सर ये तो रह ही रहे 20 साल से रह रहे थे कुछ तकलीफ नहीं हुई है. You need someone to have the authenticity to say नहीं इसमें गड़बड़ हो सकती है. I would not suggest you put your life savings into it.
Correct.
But just a word of caution. Okay, it is not that gloomy as it seems like, right?
Sure.
Okay,
it's not.
So let's not paint only one side to say that everything is wrong and there is nothing right. Okay, so what we are essentially talking about is the element of seriousness that the home buyer needs to consider. Having said that, with conviction, I can tell 95% of the transactions that get done, okay, are all good. It's not like all transactions are bad.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
But at the same time, when a bad transaction happens, that's
announced.
One is that, and second is the home buyer on this end. Okay, it's in the interest of the home buyer that we are talking.
Sure.
Correct.
Okay, so that is a caution that I would want to just.
The idea to draw out these risk factors are to let the home buyer know there are various processes, there are various risks, but we have to minimize them.
Sure.
And only way to minimize them is to approach the right professionals to get it checked. I'm not saying go to the most expensive one or the most cheaper one, but go to someone who are comfortable with and get the work done properly.
Sure.
Don't rely only on a broker or a consultant.
But at the risk of irritating Aditya for a second, I'll take that risk. I'm buying his brand new building in a beautiful location called Bandra. ठीक है? And इन्होंने मुझे agreement भेजा. मेरी तो पढ़ने की औकात है नहीं. I'm not a lawyer. मैं कैसे पढ़ के बैठूं? तो 100 पेज का बनाते हैं. आप भी बनाते हो उनके लिए 100 पेज का. Exactly. तो वो तो पढ़ने का नहीं. In a sense, I might not have the expertise.
आप लोग पढ़ने के लिए है भी नहीं.
ठीक है. Fine. I'll come to you. आप उसमें निकालोगे 2-3 clauses कि ये तो गलत है, ये गलत है. ये तो सुनने वाले हैं. So from a home buyer's perspective, in primary also, secondary तो मैं बोल नहीं रहा हूँ. Secondary, we've all agreed that it's important, very important. But even in primary, please tell the home buyer that he is doing a great job to make sure that the document is not lopsided in his interest only and also covering the home buyer. Tell me something about it.
Frankly speaking, any new building done by builder has to be RERA compliant.
Does that mean the agreement as well?
That necessarily means the agreement has to be in compliance with the standard form of RERA agreement, which is published everywhere. There's certain deviations allowed, but that has to be approved by the RERA committee.
For every new project?
Every new project.
Wow.
Okay. So, again, out here, irrespective of what the builder says or doesn't say, and I do act for builders, so it does go against me also. We tell the home buyer, please get all the documents checked by a competent lawyer to ensure that he or she knows what's in the agreement, whether it's RERA compliant, whether IOD-CC is in place, not those because it's still under construction, before putting down any money. Also, as a home buyer, be aware that the moment you put on 10% of your money, it is compulsory for the builder to register the agreement for sale. As long as you put on 10% of the amount. So whether it's a 2 crore flat, you put on 20 lakhs, the builder is mandated to compulsory register the agreement with you under RERA.
Super. So, and Aditya, if I might just come back to you, what I'm hearing from a lot of my developer friends is that they take Vastu very seriously.
Absolutely.
Right? They might actually even keep a Vastu consultant there to make sure that the home buyer's interests, curiosity, confusion is solved.
Correct.
Can something like this also happen wherein you can give them the comfort? I'm not saying that keep an in-house lawyer there and wo 24 घंटे वहीं बैठा है to give comfort, but will that help you sell the apartment easier and better if that person can give?
See, when we all have the legal team, right? Each developer must have a legal team. We work with a lot of outside consultants as well. So that is some work that we can give. But you will never trust my advisor because I'm the seller.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So you want your own independent interpretation of whatever you're buying. That's one. Two, in a new project, like Sir mentioned, RERA has made things so clear, so simple. Your agreement that you are registering is approved by them.
Okay.
Right? So no developer can push you to sign something that is not already approved by RERA. So you know that a preliminary research ho chuka hai. RERA also goes to your title certificate, which has to be in the format that is approved by them. Right?
Right.
If I have a bank loan, if I have a CF, they have done all their due diligence.
And it's written on the RERA page.
And that is also all declared on RERA because I have to declare I have taken finance from XYZ corporation. Right? So all
and
those
is that only for that project or is it also for the entity level if we have 5 projects going on?
You do it at a project level.
Okay.
So you know what are the hygienes of that particular project that I'm getting into. Is the apartment sold, unsold? And then you also have other firms like IndexTab that will give you the data that is available for you to see before buying, right? So all these things are better done when it's a third party entity. Vastu is something we can still offer because you will trust that, okay, I understand design.
Sure.
I've also got an external consultant. He has been appointed by me to design it, तो उसने कुछ तो काम किया होगा, right? इतने 10 साल का experience है, कुछ तो जानता होगा. So that's why a design side developer can get more involved with. On the legal side, maybe not. On the finance side also, right? Which bank should you take a home loan?
Finance side, builders do.
Is another great question, right? Once you've selected your house, who is going to give you the cheapest finance? One. Who will give you the most finance? Two.
Sure.
Those are questions that only a banker can answer for you. As a developer, I might have APF from 3 banks. But there are hundreds right now. Who's going to give you the most favorable terms for your profile? I don't know.
Wow. So we did discuss legal. We discussed that the banking team can be very important. We also spent some time discussing कि बाबा एक तो pricing सही है कि नहीं, competitor analysis किया कि नहीं. So that was probably in my forte, if I might say so, fungible at least for sure. So we've covered, these are the 3-4 more very, very critical things. Anything else, if you guys can all wear a home buyer hat and say, other than legal, other than the developer, credibility, RERA, whatever, data, pricing, sahi hai ki nahi, competitor analysis, and of course the banking bit. Anything else?
There is something which we've been trying to advocate in the market right now, what we call title insurance.
Okay.
Okay. It's very prevalent in US and some of the advanced developed countries, which India still is a growing nascent market, where insurance companies insure the title of the property. So if anything goes wrong, I mean, despite all your, I mean, आपने home loan लिया, bank ने आपके हिसाब से check कर लिया, a lawyer has checked, there may be something which may turn up which human error, or the lawyer must have done a, let's say, Gochi, a screwed up job, went to a high profile lawyer or a dumb lawyer, whatever it is. Insurance can at least protect your capital in case there's a defective title. So that is something which we are trying to tell all home buyers, and in fact any buyer of any property, not only home buyers, especially home buyers, because for them that's a life saving going down the drains, to take a title insurance. So quite a few insurance companies which are now offering that as a product. So at least that protects their interest in case of a defect in title. That is not same as your home insurance for burglary and fire. Or
Sure.
That's separate. This is purely for title.
But in a secondary sale, right, who is going to bear the responsibility? Because in the primary sale, I get it, right? The developer's doing it, he's doing the conveyance, the PR card, and handing over the title of the society and the flat. Secondary, who will take the responsibility?
No, the insurance companies will obviously do their own checks and balances before they do it. We've done in a couple of transactions, and it's
where they underwrite the property and they insure it at a premium.
So they have the independent law firms who double check everything before they.
अरे सर पहले आपकी फीस दो फिर ये भी फीस दो आपने अच्छा काम किया तो इसकी जरूरत क्या है फिर
नहीं so at times they take the value on what our firm says or the third party law firm and the premium is adjusted accordingly.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, so that makes a big difference. So we spoke about many things, but Aditya, if I may start with you, is knowing who my neighbor is or the community composition of the project that I'm getting into, is that very important for the home buyer? Is there a huge checkbox?
Super huge. And I'll tell you why, right? If you are going to be staying in that house, it's even more important because these are the people you will spend the next 10 years of your life with, right? And the people you hang out with, the people you celebrate your occasions with, that builds you as a person and your future, your family as well, right? So it is very important who you are going down to the swimming pool with, who you are walking with, the knowledge that is being shared is very, very important. So there's a community angle to that. Two, the age group is also very important, right? Because if it's a good mix, then great. If it is a lot of senior people staying in, you're a young guy buying into that campus, you might not enjoy it as much because the age group is different.
Sure.
So you really want to see what are the type of people staying there, not just limited to the community angle that you brought.
Superb. Gentlemen, would you agree completely to that, or is there anything you want to add?
No, I would completely agree to what he said. In fact, I'll quote one of my very close friends. There is a very prestigious project and it's a premium project. So when I asked him that, he was anyways living in a very decent house. So why did he move from there to there? So one of the most important things that he said is that kahin ka CX, kahin ka HR head, kahin ka ye, वही सोसाइटी में रहते हैं.
Wow.
Okay, so it's very easy to socialize and also business भी वहीं का वहीं generate
Correct.
होता है.
And I tell you, value appreciation of a property also comes from this.
Wow.
So if there is a society which has like-minded people that are staying there of a certain, education background or a work experience perspective, people want to be a part of that community. You mentioned about Gurgaon prices going crazy, right? Camellia, which is one of the most famous projects out there.
Absolutely.
The rates are not because the project is great. It's about the people that stay there.
Yeah.
Wow. Sure.
Just to give an example of what you guys are talking about, my building, small community, about 13 flats. We have top CUNCF from the Aditya Birla Group. We have people, a high fashion designer in our building, top floor. And just to give, regarding of the community building, in the COVID times when everything was shut down, because we were like-minded people, I'm okay, following the protocols, we used to meet almost every day to play indoor games and outdoor games that as a community, non-members got bored and have a sort of test party every weekend. So that helped in us keeping a sanity despite the lockdown happening. So that would not have happened if it was not a community built up.
So it's important, right? Everyone's
so everybody has given me enough reasons कि बहुत important है. पर ये आपको data आप दे रहे हो क्या? कि आपका neighbor कौन है? If I come to your apartment, are you telling me उसका age profile क्या है?
Every customer that comes to us, yes, every customer that comes to us, serious buyer, once he's selected, he has this question: who is my neighbor? What is the community?
And you are giving it?
And we share it without the name, but we say this is the profile that is next to you.
Interesting. So you are giving it.
We are happy to share it.
And you think...
To my friends, I say, please download Index tab.
ऐसा मत करो. I know we have the data.
And you have the data.
I know we have it. But I was just asking a developer whether he's happy to share this information, and given that he said it's so important.
See, we will not share it at a preliminary stage, but at the final stage where we know you're going to become a part of, say, a Mirchandani family home that you're buying, he is going to be your neighbor. Yeah. What is there to hide?
But I cannot,
so that is when we share it.
But I cannot tell you how important this is. Now, I'm putting in my 2 cents over here. People want to know and they ask us. So we have a small broking division. पहले ये बताओ. Now they know that we have this information. पहले ये बताओ. खाली नेबर नहीं, ऊपर नीचे दाएं बाएं पूरा 100 जन रहते हैं, उनमें कौन है पहले बताओ. Right? Only then we move in. Or it is a very critical element into the home purchase.
In redevelopment, it becomes even more critical because they want to know who are the older tenants, right? Will they agree to maintain the building to the standards of this new building? Because earlier maintenance आता था 500 रुपए, 1000 रुपए महीने का. Now suddenly we were talking about 20,000 rupees a month. You were saying is going to be the maintenance that will come, right? Will they pay for it? Will that swimming pool really be maintained? Right? You mentioned the point that swimming pool खाली जाता है, उसमें पानी रहेगा भी नहीं रहेगा. So that's why community angle is even more important when you're buying into a redevelopment.
And I will give you one more example. One of very close developer friends, okay, just few days back, it is another interesting story where the tenants want this angle even from the developer end. It's a redevelopment project and they want a specific segment to come and redevelop it for them.
नहीं, second, नहीं समझ में आया. Are you telling me that the tenants, existing tenants will put an embargo on the developer कि आप इन्हीं को बेच सकते हो?
Yes.
नए फ्लैट?
नहीं, इन्हीं को बेच नहीं सकते हो. यही प्रोफाइल ऑफ डेवलपर को आप ले आइए.
अच्छा, तो पहले
it is not just on this end, now it is also on the other end.
So you're saying पहले तो उसी किस्म के डेवलपर आ सकते हैं. Second, जो नए घर बेचने हैं, फ्लैट जो बेचने हैं, वो भी उन्हीं को बेच सकते हैं.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
In fact, a lot of societies, I mean, let's not debate whether it's legal because we'll get on a different tangent altogether. We're putting down conditions that a second home buyer has to be only a vegetarian, has to be from an X community, has to be from Y community.
नहीं तो ये तो वही वाली बात हो गई. When we were reading a very global brand in a mall, they signed a lease and lease में एक clause था कि मेरे 2 competitors को अगर आप नहीं लेके आए in the next 6 months into the same mall, I step out at no cost.
Yeah.
Can you believe this?
No, wait.
Why? Because high street कैसे बनते हैं? पहले Nike आया.
Right.
Nike के बाजू में Adidas के बाजू में New Balance. तो आप जूता खरीदने आओगे एक में, दूसरे में, तीसरे में. So
Agreed.
they say कि सबको लेके आओ.
Correct.
तो the buyer cannot go anywhere.
In
तो यहाँ कैसे वाली बात कर रहे हो?
The only agnostic guy is the banker.
Right.
For him, what is important?
I'm the lawyer. Yeah, agnostic.
No, but because you brought up the topic of societies, and I don't think we touched upon that. We spoke about the home buyer for resale. We spoke about the home buyer from a primary sale. But we did not speak about this whole redevelopment society's perspective.
So,
उनके लिए भी तो जरूरी है to there's a
जरूरी।
massive checkbox.
So in fact, ultimately, when we're advising societies, and I mean, as I said, I'm not going to get into legality whether the restrictions are
Sure.
there or not there, but they're asking us to make the model bylaws in a way that it restricts a certain class of people from becoming owners of flats within the premises.
नहीं, I want to go outside
And
the
also saying that only this kind of people should be allowed to.
No, so I'm going
So I'll
outside the
tell you,
community.
let's forget the legality aspect, right? If the society exists and there are like-minded people out there, right? There is no harm in them wanting to protect that sanctity. Because that
homogeneity.
is the homogeneity, because that is what is driving the value of that campus.
Sure.
right?
Correct.
And
So-
people command a premium because of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So whether it is legal or illegal is a separate topic.
Right.
But it is just, you will enjoy yourself more. You can be more open.
Sure.
When you are making a politically incorrect statement, you are not in fear that someone will interpret it the wrong way. So it is absolutely okay to have those restrictions. Sometimes I myself am on the wrong side of it, but that's life.
But I think, I will try to rephrase the word that you use. Rather than the community, I think I will probably, for a lack of a better word, say a tribe. Okay. Why I say this is, as I said, my own friend, he's saying that if there are CXs from big institutions staying there, it itself is a place to socialize and generate business.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So it is not just community per se, but it is also important that if you ask me, my son, I would want his pedigree. वहां पे जो लोग रह रहे हैं उनकी भी एक पेडिग्री रहे. So similarly, अगर business community से तो हम भी चाहेंगे business
Okay, let me
community के
add to
लोग
that.
आजू-बाजू में रहे.
I'm just slightly off tangent. When you choose a school for your kid, what are the things you look at?
Well,
I mean, the kind of students studying there, right?
of course.
So, I mean, just I would prefer a person. I mean, when I was looking for school for my daughter, who's turned 18 now, but 12, 15 years back, I wanted Dhirubhai, Bombay Scottish, because the kind of pedigree of people.
Absolutely.
Because I knew the kind of people she was interacting with. I wanted with that kind of students. Or I went to a school like Doon. So, because then your network grows, your pedigree grows accordingly.
That's the alumni aspect.
Yeah,
right?
That's
When
the
you-
alumni
That's it.
aspect.
It's the same thing the community thing you're applying to your home. When you're a large group of 40 people of similar background and pedigree and community goes accordingly. Today, even if I become a member of a club, it's part of the community development because I know the more people I meet with my club, which is outside my home premises, the prospect getting business is much higher. So I will choose a club which is, or I am a member of a club which has CEOs, CXOs and the corporate style. So,
Correct.
I mean, half the time, 50% of business is getting generated from that group.
Aditya, you mentioned about age of the.
Yes, I did.
You did not stop at community. You also went to the age profile of that level of homogeneity.
Correct.
So what about age of the project?
Very important.
Is that
right?
also important?
Very
Then
important?
are you in my camp where new money is not chasing old construction?
Yes, 100%.
So tell me more about that.
So when you're looking at a new age buyer, right? You're looking at a young person. He wants to experience life. He's at the start of his life, per se, right? So he wants to enjoy a good campus, a good building, a good lifestyle, which a new development, a new campus can provide him. The moment you buy into a secondary market or building that is anything beyond, I would say 15 years, right?
Oh, interesting. I would have said 20 years, but 15, okay.
15 saal ke baad, two things happen. Number one, that community already pre-exists, right? In a newer building, friendships are still mature.
So you're retrofitting yourself in.
You're retrofitting yourself in, number one. Number two, every 15 years, your generation changes.
Oh, sure.
Right? So the generation that is living there, what do they like? What do they dislike? How do they like to live? What do they like to do? May be same as yours or not.
Wow.
Right? So when you will go, for example, let's say there's a younger guy. If the CEOs and CXOs who are in the 50s are there, he will not be able to go on a walk with them every morning, right? He's not going to be able to play badminton with them in the morning.
Wow.
So he wants that younger crowd. So if the CXO has a son or daughter who's their age, great. So you need to have friends. And let's be honest, right? When we were children, who were your first friends? You're building friends.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right? And those are the purest forms of friendships that you have even today.
Sure.
School and building. So that is where you are meeting your people.
But I'll add to this. So I agree that the new money probably in literal sense will not chase age is important of the building, but the new money is definitely going to chase these old constructions, because across Mumbai, Navi Mumbai, you have redevelopment happening in rampant. So that new money is going to chase the redevelopment of those properties.
But that's still new.
That is still new. वो नया बन जाएगा. नया बनेगा. But still the old people are still going to be there in many of the cases. But because of the amenities, because of the freshness, because of the infrastructure, it is going to attract the new audience.
Just to add to that, you're talking about old people will still be there. One thing which I've seen, and I act for a lot of societies and for builders who redevelopment or project lawyer. Whenever redevelopment comes up, especially when age building, as you're talking, and there are quite a few senior citizens. When I'm talking senior citizens above, I'm looking at age bracket of 60, 65 plus. They would prefer to sell out to the builder immediately and move out rather than wait for redevelopment to happen.
And come back. They don't want to come back.
They don't want to come back. I'll tell the rational being, it will take at least 3 to 4 years for the building to be remade and get their flats back. They're going to realign their thought at a rented premises for that in case they're coming back for 3 to 4 years. And re-shift for 4 years, re-back shift for 4 years later. They may not be sure what their condition of health or medical thing would be. So quite a few times I'm saying they rather sell it off and buy a new premises, depending on the budget, location, age, old, new, and move out. So then a new money, what I talk about, Frank, then comes a new building altogether with new prospective owners.
Right.
नहीं तो ये तो पक्का है, which is why the rental market in many of these cities has gone berserk. Right? We used to always say 1.5%. It's probably become 3% now.
Maybe even more.
No. I would say in residential apartments, irrespective of this boom, I mean, if you look at the entire cost and ROI, yield is not more than 2.5%.
ठीक है, चलो, but you speak about rental yield, right?
Rental yield.
Before that. Okay. I have a question. Before that, I want to say something. You only ask questions to everyone. Now there is a question to you too.
Oh God.
Okay. So one is from a banking perspective, if you talk about resale or second homes, the loan to value ratio typically is in the ratio of say 60-40. Unlike a new property where you could go up to about say 85 or 90-10. Okay. That is one side. So how do you look at it from a yield perspective, a second home versus a new home?
How does a home buyer would look at
from a yield perspective?
पर वहीं पे confusion है. I'm upset because the home buyer, जिसको we'll have to collectively educate them कि जो पहला घर है is for you to stay. That's where the confusion starts. उनको लगता है उसमें भी मुझे wealth creation चाहिए, right? I'm of the camp that पहला घर is for, again going back to what Aditya kept saying, the ROI, and I'm also used to work at Bank of America. So for me, ROI is only return on investments. But this gentleman says ROI is return on intimacy. कि बाबा पहला घर मेरी बीवी बच्चों के लिए है. So I have a problem with that. They should look at the second and the third home from an ROI perspective.
Correct.
And I
see, because as I keep telling everybody, first to make a stake is only a number on your balance sheet. You're not going to cash it tomorrow and move out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're upgrading your lifestyle and cashing that and moving to a bigger house.
Yeah.
Agreed. So then you're going to get the best price available at that point of time, not was there on the balance sheet.
So, वापस बोलिए sir, सब home buyers. Okay. पहला घर is not.
So your first home
it's your
is
emotions.
not your investment. It's a place for you to stay, a roof over your top. So choose that from perspective, as I keep saying, close to office premises, close to if you have kids, close to your kids' school, and close to any other amenities which you may want or may not want.
So somebody can work from, क्या बोलते हैं, be close to work.
Walk to work.
If not you, walk to work. If not you, your children at least.
I would say it should be close to children's educational place. because they should be doing the least amount of travel,
अच्छा then
according to me.
ये क्वेश्चन तो मुझे
Very
लगा था
right.
कोई मुझसे पूछेगा, पर मैं खुद ही पूछ लेता हूँ, किसी ने नहीं पूछा तो. Again, going back to this same queue of ROI, the same confusion, right? They get so hung up on कि मुझे कितना सस्ते में मिल रहा है घर, या वहाँ पे प्राइस ट्रेंड्स कितना है, नेक्स्ट 5 साल में कितना मेरा प्राइस बढ़ेगा, and therefore they're just unable to buy that house.
How does it matter whether 5 is 2009, your first home prices move from X to 5X? My question is 5 is 2009, are you going to sell your house and move out? Answer is no.
हाँ.
Then why worry about that?
You
Easier
answer.
said than
You
done.
answer.
Easier.
You answer this. What is the best time to buy any real estate? It will answer your
Yes,
The
question.
best, once again, the best time to buy a house.
Yeah.
So वैसे I quote China, वैसे हिंदुस्तान में भी prevalent है कि लड़की नहीं मिलेगी जब तक घर नहीं होगा, right? I think it's unsaid truth, so I don't want to say it that vocally, but that, I mean, I think any time where you have some disposable money
No.
and you've settled in life, you should buy a house,
I would put it ulta way.
which is
The moment you start earning and want an independent life, buy a house there. There's no, it's not question of selling disposable income. You may not have disposable income on day one of your earning.
okay.
Okay. Fact is, if you have the ability to put down any amount of money from whatever source you can drive it, buy it then and there. Because there's never a good time or bad time as per the economic market trend.
So any day is a good day to buy real estate.
Buy
Buy
your first home.
first home.
Yeah, first home.
Buy your
I will
first
rephrase it. First home.
First home. Okay, if you're looking at real estate as an investment perspective, then there are different parameters we'll speak about.
Sure. Okay.
Okay.
Aditya, you have anything to say on this?
Absolutely. I think the right time to buy the house was yesterday, but you're not too late if you buy it today.
I agree with that sentiment. Okay. And बाकी और स्क्रैप की प्राइस गिरने वाला है, प्राइस बढ़ने वाला है, वो सब please
Don't time the market.
Don't
You
time-
cannot time the stock market.
Yeah.
Don't try to time.
don't have time in real estate market for your first home.
Sure.
But for second, what's your take?
Second home, again I ask you investment perspective or usage perspective.
Second is
Sir,
investment.
second use के लिए कैसे हो सकता है सर?
नहीं नहीं, people buy second home
अभी
and
आजकल
don't use
सबके
it.
पास एक ही बीवी है.
पहले भी एक ही थी.
पहले भी एक ही थी ऑब्वियसली. ऑब्वियसली सबके पास एक ही बीवी है. Let's not walk on that. But I'll give you a list of my clients who
ये आप edit कर लेना. ये नहीं
I'll give
चाहिए.
you a list of my clients who multiple faceted.
नहीं,
But
coming back to investment only.
if it's for investment perspective only, then obviously look at where you see potential growth, where there's going to be a business growth and office growth. Because more office around that area would mean more people coming and staying in that area and hiking up the price. Today, a place like Jamshedpur, when it was built in 1930s, prices went on the roof because of Tata coming on thing. Calcutta, West Bengal, Singur, when it was original plan, prices started skyrocketing till Tata's had to move on and move to Gujarat. JNPT, Sivri, prices moved up because of infrastructure development. Navi Bombay Airport, prices moved up because of the airport coming up. So where we see big infrastructure development projects happening, that's the right time we should go into that market to buy a home or any, I would say real estate, not necessarily home, because that's where you'll see potential growth over a period of time.
Also, if you want to buy for investment, don't buy secondary, right? Because that is a depreciation. That is eventually going to depreciate over a period of time.
Sure.
You want to buy from a primary developer.
Correct.
Preferably try and go for under construction, because you get the advantage of paying over a period of time. You're anyway staying, so there's no rental cost on you right now. You have a primary house. Go under construction, take that risk. Of course, you will check on the project, you'll check RERA, and you'll do all your background checks like they've said.
We discussed it, yes.
But look at under construction, look at an area where real estate is going to grow because of the physical infrastructure that is coming around. And that could be your focus.
So we'll soon, running out of time, so we have to look at the last segment. But uske pehle kuch bhi aisa reh gaya that we haven't discussed from a check box perspective that a home buyer should.
So I think one of the things that I will always keep reiterating is on the budget side. I think that's the most critical part in the entire scheme of things, because at the end of the day, you have across ranges of houses, but you need to know for a fact that basis the family income, what is the exposure that a bank is or a financial institution is willing to take, okay, from a loan perspective. And at the same time, your other tick boxes which are there are also able to get into a compliant mode. So just to give you perspective, banks on an average, they consider 4 to 6x of your annual income as the loan. So somebody who is probably earning about, say, 12 lakh per annum, max to max can get up to about 55 lakh kind of a loan. And obviously you have the 20% down payment or 15% down payment. So you add this up. So always keep that at the back of the mind, because it's an emotional decision. And that's why I again and again reiterate on this, that keeping an eye on the budget is very crucial before you make that decision.
So I'll tell you, keeping your eye on budget, important, yes. Keeping an eye on the future, even more important.
Yes.
Because you're not buying a house just for today.
Yes.
You're buying a house for a life. So today, maybe a 2 BHK might be okay for me because I'm a nuclear family, it's just me and my wife staying. But tomorrow, my parents might grow old, they might be moving in with me. I'm not going to be able to shift my life and my house that quickly, right? I might have a child, I might need space for them. So you have to think of not just choosing your house, but the project that you look at should cater to your requirements today, definitely. Shouldn't be too much out of your budget, perfect. But should be able to cater to you for the next 10 years. Wow. At minimum.
I think that's a valid tick, because that's a prerequisite in terms of what you really need at the end of the day from the property.
And Sudarshan, आप मुझे बताओ ना कि RERA है, we spoke about RERA. It's a great boon for the home buyer. Is
Absolutely.
there anything else that the government can do? Is there anything else that anybody can do? From a banker to a developer to a lawyer to a data company like ours, for the benefit of the...
See, the good part about...
तो मुझे आगे future का बताओ.
The good part about what the government is doing is the government is willing to share as much of information regarding transactions. So there is an element of transparency, which is where the government is focusing.
Sure.
And credit to government, because of which CRE Matrix is able to source the data. Okay.
Super.
Having said that, on the other end, also from a banking perspective, one of the trend which is seeping in is seamless I will say credit flow, and apart from seamless credit flow, seamless transaction flow from the time that the customer is able to take a decision till disbursement. So today most of the processes are all manual. So that is where RBI stepped in. The entire process is now getting digitized. So it's probably in days to come, you will see that the entire thing, as today you have the registration happening in the office of the developer, the entire loan process will also happen sitting at one place. So it will be a really seamless kind of a transaction.
All those ridiculous forms I have to
Everything
fill
will
when
be
I take a
digital.
home loan.
Everything will be digital.
वो सब digital हो जाएगा.
In some of the
that's already gone digital.
yeah, some of the banks have done it.
You know how many papers I have to sign to get a home loan?
But अभी आपको एक ही signature करना पड़ेगा and it gets replicated.
Wow.
So it's a digital signature.
Let me
नहीं तो
just,
एक सेकंड, मोदी जी जो बोलते रहते हैं ease of doing business, तो ये आप कुछ
हो रहा है.
होम में कुछ बता सकते हो उसके बारे में?
Okay, let me just add to this what he mentioned about digitalization of the registration process. Two things I just thought concerning home buyer and rental agreement. Today, a leave license agreement, if it's a standard format recognized under the Maharashtra Rent Control Act, can be registered sitting at your home.
Oh sure, with your Aadhaar.
With Aadhaar and sitting at your home, you don't have to go anywhere else.
Awesome.
So the same process the government is trying to replicate it even when doing a buy or sell transaction, trying to, still not saying. As a first step, they've already started doing the registration in a builder's office. When they have in a project, they've got about 50 or 170 flats, I'm not sure the exact number, but when they have started, the builder can apply to the registration at his or her office.
One second, can I interrupt? मतलब आदित्य के project में मुझे घर खरीदना है. I don't have to go to registrar's office. I can do the registration sitting in his.
If he's applied and taken the permission, the registration can happen in his office if he meets the qualification of a certain number of units which he's selling. So that then what happens, I don't have to go and meet at the sub-register office for half an hour or 1 hour before my registration happens. So that time gets saved.
Sure.
So that's a process which the government has started. If it goes well, like what's happened in the passport office, where the major process is already digitalized and privatized, where you just have to, if you know the documents, then you go from table to table within I mean, I know my mother went to get a passport renewed. Within 24 hours, the passport was on her table.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay. So that ease of thing should happen with the Maharashtra government in the next few years. And we foresee that happening in the registration process also.
Wow.
So if we know the calculation, everything, get it verified, I see that sooner than later.
And RBI has already, the good part about from a banking perspective is RBI has already moved in that direction of complete digitalization, not just from a home loan perspective, all type of loans, including from agri loans to home loans, commercial loans.
Right.
So you will see that change.
So India is definitely getting, we are the topmost
In digital, yeah,
country
absolutely,
in the world.
absolutely.
So very glad to hear this. Even more glad to hear that. So Aditya, are you doing that for any of your projects?
So far, no, it's in pilot stage. So there are very few projects that are doing that, but I feel eventually it will come.
So abhi hurdle kya hai? Are you facing any hurdle or is it a more initial?
Technology adaptation. That is.
अच्छा वो सारा cost आपका ही है.
सारा cost
Obviously.
हमारा है. Of course, that is one aspect of it. It works sometimes. System downtime happens. Servers are working, not working. That whole coordination that happens, security that happens, because now you are literally having that thumbprint that's happening with you. So the liability that comes with it is also very important.
So next time I go, if Creda invites me to speak at an event, I'll bring this up. Let me see how many of your friends.
Go for it. You should ask. You should ask this question.
Okay.
No, seriously.
Seriously. In fact, the way the government is moving, so if I can, few more examples. Your restaurant ROC website is managed by a private entity. Your income tax portal is managed by private entities. So it's all leading to ease of business and trying to simplify the process so that the government doesn't get in a process they will totally goes to policy decision.
Correct.
Wow. So when he says, our PM says that government is in no business of being in business, is he actually walking the talk? Is that what I'm trying to say? At least for real estate, मैं बाकी क्या बात नहीं करूँगा.
I think he's trying to walk the talk across the sectors. Because if you look at it, most of the so-called PSUs are being privatized. Banks are being nationalized, clubbed together, bring down few PSUs and obviously recapitalize and move out of that segment. Air India has been sold off. Lots of the things are happening. So let's see. Things seem to be going in the right direction, but
so I'll tell you one thing which
happen.
I would love to see happen. And in a previous podcast, you spoke about blockchains, right? And we can speak about tokenization.
Yes.
Land and title, like we discussed, is so complicated, right? If you can ease that pain, it will simplify a lot of the process.
So in fact, okay, go ahead.
Sorry, please. You can jump in. Don't lose your thought, please.
So in fact, we've been as a firm, we've already started working on that thing, linking blockchain technology, tokenization to land, parcel, and tokenization in a new concept, which I think most of you already know, called fractionalization of property, where each fraction of property is linked to a blockchain or a token. So you just transfer token and your backend transaction happens automatically. And then it's reconciled every 3 or 4 months to get everything done.
So you're saying that as I have an Aadhaar, the land will have an Aadhaar?
As I mentioned earlier, when we were having a private, each building and each flat is getting a BMC UDI number. So unique identification. So that will now also start moving to land and other things. So starting with smaller things and moving to larger picture.
So what I would love to see happen eventually, I don't know if it is a possible dream as well. Just like I can buy a share of HDFC sitting at home and it reflects in my Demat account within T+1 or T+2 days, right? Why can't I buy a house? Because all the back data is on a blockchain. It is tokenized. It is there for everyone to see. Why can't I buy the flat, swipe my credit card if I have the limit, for example, and not have to go to a registration office already because it is tokenized. It is mine. And it is there for everyone to see. So eliminate that whole process. Whether it is possible is a different thing, but that would be the dream.
Awesome.
But steps are already there in that direction.
So
government is already in that direction.
Government is actually trying to, it will take years to come. But as I said, fractional ownership of properties, that's being made possible because to overcome the registration process, we get the people under one entity and that share of that entity keeps getting transferred through what we call smart contracts and blockchain technology.
But one good thing that has happened post RERA is what has happened till 2016 is one. But post 2016 and specifically post COVID, when all this transaction data is already in RERA, now think about it that when you want to go for a secondary sale of these properties, maybe 10 years down the line, 15 years down the line, there is data that is available. So to a lot of extent, yes, what Aditya just spoke, that is in pipeline, but there are steps which has already been taken. If you look at it, I think they are very positive.
So again, from keeping it strictly from a home buyer's perspective, you're saying that the home buyer now has access
to RERA
data because of RERA. It's got access to
Absolutely.
data because some companies like ourselves,
Right.
and they should use it
proactively. They should use it proactively, because that is the only way that a market which suffers from asymmetry of data has moved to more, consolidation, or at least data has moved towards a more symmetry, I would say.
So then the last segment hai, which is where all of y'all will have to say the top 3 most critical non-negotiable items that a home buyer should check before buying the dream. I'm assuming data should be your top then. मैं आ रहा हूँ वापस उसमें since you spoke about it, but some time back the IndexTab team did some survey with about 100 people. It's a small number, 100. But they did this survey and they figured out कि वो 100 जन के लिए top 3 items क्या थे which were non-negotiable in terms of a checkbox before buying the dream home. Can I share that with you? And then you have to tell your top 3. Hopefully they'll not be the same.
Can I say it another way? Let us put our top 3 and let's see if that matches what the 100 people have said.
तो फिर आप ही पहले शुरू करो. Top 3, we spoke about many things. We spoke about legal, we spoke about data, we spoke about RERA, we spoke about so many things. आपके top 3 क्या है जब आप घर खरीदोगे? We spoke about community composition, age profiling.
See, if I have to find my own house, obviously location in terms of two amenities like school, markets.
ठीक है, तो social infra भी आ गया, location, okay.
Location, budget, and more important for me, title of the property.
Okay, so, super.
Location, budget will help me decide which flat I'm going to buy. Then I would check the title. If the title is not clear, I would not buy it.
So yeah, so those 2 are important. The third one is super critical because that helps you sleep better, be extremely comfortable, risk averse. Awesome. Aditya?
I think I've answered this before, so I'll let you go for it. And then I will.
So Darshan, what's your top 3?
So I think 2, what he stated, budget, legality is important, and I think third, which everybody will agree, is wife stick on that property, because at the end of the day, that's the most critical component. Yeah. So
ये नया angle आ गया. Okay, this is interesting.
Yes, social come personal angle.
Most important thing.
Yeah.
So let me see if I remember what I said in the previous podcast, and if I can get still the same. Convenience, right? Which links to again the social infrastructure, where my job is, where my children's schools are. That would be number 1, most important. Number 2 is the lifestyle, how I'm living in that house. In addition to just the 4 walls, the amenities that are there, how my life is going to progress, how do I see my future growing? And third is value, which is getting the right price for the right product. I don't want a discount because that definitely comes at a compromise, right? Even when you have discounts that are given online, it's on the old stock. मुझे old stock नहीं चाहिए, मुझे नया माल चाहिए. But I wanted at a good valuation.
But interestingly, both of you did not mention legal. You just left it to him कि वो cover हो गया तो हम लोग बोलते नहीं ऐसा क्या?
हमने तो बोला legal.
अच्छा ठीक है, you said okay, ठीक है. So here's what they said. The 100 people, okay, and they were all young, huh? So they were nobody was above 35.
So the millennial couple basically.
Huh?
The millennials.
Yeah. Or Gen Z.
Yeah, whatever.
So and I'm saying in pecking order. Huh? Now this is might come as a surprise to some people. सबसे पहला was community composition. मेरा no thou neighbor, right? Number 2, somebody has to compare the pricing, the competitors, the amenities. मुझे पूरा मैं lazy है, मैं स्विगी के जनरेशन का है, मुझे पजामा में बैठ के पाव भाजी चाहिए रात में 1 बजे, ये सब काम करके दो. That's what I want. Okay, that's number 2. And number 3 was the OC conveyance coming back to the legal. And I was impressed. Yeah. कि वो भी इसको मानते हैं as important. मुझे तो लगा ही नहीं था कि ये ऊपर आएगा. Honestly, I thought the other elements might come in.
So I'll tell you what, from OC, we touched upon it a little bit, and I'll just reiterate that. Number 1, don't buy a ready property that doesn't have an OC. That has to be a minimum criteria along with Vastu. OC नहीं है, देखो भी मत.
अच्छा.
Right? If it is under construction, OC नहीं आई है, don't take the possession. Right? Because once you take the possession, you've lost a lot of your legal rights.
Wow.
So wait till OC comes.
Just to add to this, lot of builders, I'm not meaning you Aditya, so don't get me wrong. Since आप चार भी ले लो fit outs के लिए before OC.
The soft possession.
हाँ. तो आप फिट आउट करो तब तक आपका ये ओसी आ जाएगा. और वो फिट आउट करते करते कब आप शिफ्ट कर गए ओसी आया कि नहीं आया किसी को परवाह नहीं. ये लोग भूल जाते हैं.
Wow.
That we had that. तो वो गलती कभी मत करो कि फिट आउट्स के नाम पर आप चाबी ले लो.
Aditya, you don't give soft possession?
We do offer soft possession, but I'm proud to say that as a company over the last 30 years that we've been building, every project of ours has OC received. And I'm not the only developer. There are numerous developers whose all projects have received OCs.
And what about
so there are a few black sheep because of which you have that 85% data
all
that
OC nahi hai. Sure.
But I feel as a buyer, you must insist on OC.
और ये जो beautiful digital clock लगी रहती है आजकल बिल्डिंग लॉन्च के बाद कि
बहुत अच्छा है.
उसको तो रीसेल भी कर सकते हैं. मैंने एक बार पूछा था डेवलपर से कि डिजिटल है उसको तो आप रीसेल भी कर सकते हो. मैं तो रोज चेक कर रहा हूँ. Any views on that?
So we as a company don't put digital clocks, but I see a lot of these clocks outside site.
Sure.
And I somehow don't buy into the value of someone seeing that date and it adding any value to, अरे मुझे 300 दिन में मिलने वाला है, मुझे 600 दिन में मिलने वाला है. I mean, what value does that add to my decision making today? It has an element of transparency that yes, but in case नहीं होता है तो क्या? मतलब are you committing to a penalty?
Sure.
Is that the same date that you have given RERA? What is the implication of that date? If it is just a number, then what's the point?
Sure.
Now, how do you look at it? So there is ready to move के अंदर में OC है, that's one good part. But new properties, जहाँ पे तो it's at a CC stage. It will take time to reach the OC stage. So how do you assess the risk in that phase? Because see, as a bank, I have taken a call on your project, all good, all take. Fantastic. But anything happens between the CC period and the OC period. So the risk is on whom?
So three things you should look at. Number one, is the project RERA registered?
Right.
If the project is RERA registered, you know that किसी ने documents देखा है, approvals are in place, that's what's happening. Number two, you want to really see the speed of construction. So we had a buyer that bought the flat. During COVID, he wanted to see what is happening, right? Because a lot of times people had really stalled constructions. So he would send his channel partner to site to see कि steel का गाड़ी आया नहीं आया, and that is how he would decide whether काम चल रहा है नहीं चल रहा है.
Wow.
So you really want to get to those basic data points which tell you the speed at which the work is happening.
वो बैंकर था क्या?
Stock market वाला था.
हाँ, क्योंकि ना बैंकर्स तो डिस्पर्स तभी करते डेवलपर को till the time they send and
correct
some photograph, architect,
absolutely.
certificate, something.
Absolutely.
And for the third,
so you want to see that it is RERA approved. You want to see that speed of construction is there on site. Labor कितने site पे देख सकते हैं. Whenever you're going, काम हो रहा है नहीं हो रहा है देख सकते हो. Third thing you want to see कि कितने flat बिके नहीं बिके. Because if more flats are sold, the project feasibility or valuation is more or less covered. Because RERA है तो FSI तो खरीद चुका है builder. Sales है, construction चालू है तो पैसा भी इधर ही लगना है. तो building complete हो जाएगी.
Wow.
So that is how you could, take a call whether this project will get completed within time. If it is slow, then maybe okay, चलो 6 महीना ज़्यादा लगेगा, but हो जाएगा. If it is stopped, then you need to worry.
So once again, just for the home buyer, once again, you said RERA, which I think is a hygiene, वो तो सबको करना ही पड़ेगा launch करने के पहले.
सबको देखना चाहिए.
Correct. Number two, काम हो रहा है कि नहीं?
काम हो रहा है.
We coming to that in a minute. काम हो रहा है कि नहीं? And third, finally, which I love the most as always, कि बाबा बिका कि नहीं बिका, only we can tell. Other than you.
Correct.
But we can tell for the entire market.
मतलब what is hinting is he is welcoming the home buyer to come again and again during the construction period just to be comforted that
sure,
things are happening in the right way.
Sure.
Okay.
You're saying
That's
something.
What the home buyers say. There's certain exception to RERA compliance also. If a builder is selling 8 units or less,
yeah,
or a
you
plot
don't
size,
require a RERA.
Or a plot size less than 500 square meters.
500 square meters.
Or if he's planning to sell all his projects after getting the OC,
he doesn't need the
RERA registration.
And to get a loan is very difficult for such projects.
Okay.
But
really?
it's a very small subset.
Very small.
That
Very small.
Very small
Sure,
subset.
sure.
But it's tough.
Wow.
Okay. Fourth thing we should remember, there are lots of people who don't sell the homes and give it on long leases, like a service apartment. So those are not technically RERA compliant.
Okay. Interesting.
So whatever is said, कि RERA होना चाहिए, I agree it's less than 5% or probably less than that or 3% also, but there would be certain exceptions to RERA compliance we should be aware of.
But we can agree that's a very small percentage of the market. So this is very helpful. Thank you very much. We can all agree that from legal to data, we'll also bring in this beautiful element of getting a certificate from the better half. That's also very interesting.
That should be first. Otherwise तो आगे नहीं बढ़ेंगे, नीचे नहीं उतरेंगे.
The developer credibility.
आप घर खरीद नहीं सकते हो.
अगर खरीद लिया, गलती से भी खरीद लिया, तो अंदर ही नहीं जा पाओगे.
आप गलती भी नहीं कर सकते हो.
हाँ, sorry.
अगर आपने खरीद लिया तो वो इन्वेस्टमेंट है, घर नहीं.
उसके बाद आपको मेरे पास आना पड़ेगा कुछ और काम के लिए.
So viewers, I hope this was useful. It was primarily driven to the home buyers. If you have any comments on what you heard, please let us know. If you want us to talk about something else, please let us know. So until next time, thank you so much for listening in. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming in and sharing all the insights and your experiences. So look forward to the next session. New topic. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you for having us, Abhishek.
Thank you for having us, Abhishek.
Thank you, Abhishek.
Once again,
would love to be back.
Thank you.
Thank you.